They sorted those things and put them where people could look, and anything they could use they took. We didn't ask any questions.
We had to live in Camp Wallace for a while. Then we moved into some Red Cross housing until our homes could be repaired.
There were up to 20 funerals a day for almost 2 weeks.
I helped dig the mass grave, brought lumber for casket supports, and for shoring up the graves.
594 known dead, nearly 4,000 injured, 115 missing, 63 never identified.
Yes, the mass funeral. They started at the schoolhouse. See, now all the caskets were alike, and all the casts on them. And a little child was standing there. He said, "Mama, you said Daddy was going to be here today." She said, "He is." And when she said that, I could have screamed, because he was. They had the cars and the ambulances had stopped so they could get out there, out in the unknown cemetery. And that was the day Reverend Johnson prayed. They asked him to pray. And I said, "Oh, God, what it takes to get us together." And it was, oh, so pitiful. And when we were coming on back home, one of the women who had lost her husband said, "It is so hard. It is so hard. I don't have nothing to go home for." I said, "Oh, yes, you do. Can't say you don't have something to go home for, because you have a child. That child needs you."
In the past 50 years, dreams have brought back unwelcome reminders of all my fears and all the chaos that took place.
There were months of anguish on my father's part over the deaths of the many co-workers and friends he had left at the docks.
I have no conscious memories of the explosion. I was only 16 months old, but it had a definite effect on me both mentally and physically.
For years, I have had glass removed from various parts of my body. I still have 2 large pieces of steel in me that set off the alarms at airports.
The only permanent injury was the loss of my left eye. I gave thanks to God. Without him, I wouldn't have got off the 4th floor and onto the ground.
My brother was working on top of one of the units and was blown out into the bay, luckily landing close to a fisherman who pulled him into his boat and got him to a doctor.
I was sewn up with piano wire and had to learn to walk all over again.
There was a reason I was spared.
My dad was working on the docks. He left 15 minutes before it blew up.
For all the horror of those days, it is truly a miracle to see how Texas City has rebuilt and keeps on rebuilding.
Like the businesses in Texas City, we all rebuild bigger and better.
Nowhere but in America could people from competing companies do so much together.
I knew that Pan Am and the other major companies were helping in much the same way as Carbide.
They rebuilt Monsanto and then Republic and Sid Richardson, and all the businesses have built up again. And the people went back to work and life began again.
It is often said that crisis brings out the best in people. That's certainly true of the people in Texas City.
I witnessed firsthand the resurrection of Texas City and am proud to have played a small part.
I'm 89 years old. I'm a firm believer in Texas City, and it would take more than a stick of dynamite to get me to leave here.
It was a beautiful thing to remember. The friendship we made and the bonding there was among the people still exists today.
Everybody did something for somebody.
After the blast, I worked with people with plates in their heads, scarred bodies, limbs, and faces. Many fine, proud folks of character.
I am so thankful for being here. When there were so many who lost their lives, Texas City is a nice town. We are proud to call it home.
A day that will be remembered forever by all of us who were there.
a day that allows us all to take pride in our lives. For through it all, we did prevail. We did survive.
And out of the darkness came many positive things: rebuilding and expansion of existing industries, a port that is now ranked as 3rd in Texas and 8th in the United States, new lines of group communication for public safety, mutual aid program of industrial cooperation, cooperation among fire and safety departments of various plants, new methods in trauma care, advances in plastic surgery and burn treatment, new methods of identifying the dead, laws governing the handling and removal of casualties, the American Association of Blood Banks, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association, Galveston County Memorial Hospital, now Columbia Mainland Medical Center, better and more comfortable housing for many families, establishment of the green belt around the industrial area. We looked into ourselves and found the courage to overcome. We developed a sense of community and respect for one another. We did prevail. We did survive.